Now we start this hour in Europe, and Ukrainian officials have said that an overnight Russian drone attack on Kyiv killed 3 people and wounded dozens, including 7 children. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has confirmed the attack in a statement. Zelenskyy has also added that Ukraine has been struck by 1,200 drones in just 1 week. Let's take a listen in to his statements.
А сьогодні тільки у Києві від російської атаки 3 людини загинули. І ще 31 людина постраждала. Серед них є діти, 7 дітей. Ми дякуємо кожному, хто допомагає людям, кожному рятувальнику, всім в комунальних службах, хто дійсно працює, щоб допомогти. Тільки за один цей тиждень росіяни застосували проти України майже 1200 ударних дронів і вже 50 ракет різних типів. Більшість якраз балістичні. Захист від такої загрози може бути тільки спільною справою. Жодна нація в світі не має залишатись наодинці проти такого.
These strikes came just a day after another Russian drone and missile strikes, and they killed 4 and wounded around 20 others in Kyiv, according to Ukrainian authorities. Meanwhile, the governor of the Bryansk region in Russia has said that a Ukrainian drone has hit a minibus, and the governor has said that the attack killed the driver and injured 5 other people. Russian state media has also reported that Russia's air defense units have destroyed 193 Ukrainian drones overnight. We're now joined by Professor Veselin Popovsky. He's a professor and vice dean at Jindal Global Law School, and he joins us live from New Delhi. Professor Popovsky, President Zelenskyy says 1,200 drones have come over from Moscow in the past week. What does that say about Moscow's strategy now? Is it quantity over precision now from the Russians towards Ukraine?
Well, obviously the purpose of this is to inflict damage, mostly civilian damage. We see 3 people killed in the capital, Kyiv. And the Russian strategy is basically to make the life miserable and to kill as many people as possible. It's a horrible, nasty strategy, somehow to make Ukrainians demoralized, but they will not. Ukrainians are strong, and they will defend their country, whatever Russians wants to do. Usually, you know, Thomas, in the media reports from Russia, there is always kind of the good news. They would like to report that they capture a village here, capture a village there. They destroy some infrastructure and people as well, because they want to please their dictatorial leader. Whereas if we look at the Ukrainian side, it's always a care for human life. And that's why we kind of get an impression that the Russian army is advancing, which is not, and that many civilians are killed, but they are not. They are basically weekly. We have between 10 and 20 weekly civilians die in Ukraine. The worst was in June and July, no longer that, because the air defense system of Ukraine is building stronger. And it will build more and more stronger. Exactly, Zelenskyy is doing the right thing. He is reporting every casualty in order somehow to send the signals, the message to the West, and not only to the West, to the entire world, that Ukrainians are the victims of illegal invasion, aggression, war crimes daily, and for that matter to receive the necessary support, including military support.
What options are available for Ukraine diplomatically and militarily now?
Well, diplomatically, Ukraine is open for negotiations. In fact, Zelenskyy is happy to meet anybody, including Vladimir Putin. He never rejected such a meeting, but Russians are not ready for diplomacy. You see, every time when it comes to some hope for a diplomatic solution, the Russians are backing down. They don't want a ceasefire. The simple thing here is to ask a ceasefire. What Donald Trump should say to Putin is, don't tell me about meetings, stop the fire for 1 week, and then I will go to meet you wherever you want me to meet you. But Donald Trump doesn't do that. he simply promised a meeting and he invited Putin to Alaska. Well, hopefully he will not meet Putin in Budapest now, because there should be some conditions for that meeting, and the conditions should be ceasefire. Unless Russia agree on ceasefire, there is no diplomacy, as simple as that. On the military front, Ukraine needs more support, and that's why Zelenskyy is making the pledges, including in Washington, including for the long-range missile system that can destroy military objects deep into the Russian territory, which will somehow turn into the equation, because Russians will feel the pain themselves from what they are doing, and that will speed up also the diplomatic solution. So for diplomacy to work, Moscow needs to be pressured, including with long-range missiles. You see how Putin was very scared when Donald Trump announced Tomahawks to be supplied. Those further messaging, actually actions by the White House, could be very significant, exactly as to put the Russians seriously on the diplomatic table.
Yes, Professor Popowski, thank you very much for joining us and giving your insight, as always. It's a pleasure to hear. We now move on over to the Indo-Pacific, where US President Donald Trump departed Malaysia to meet Japanese Emperor Naruhito on Monday at the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. This meeting is scheduled 6 years after their previous meeting during Trump's first term as US President. President Trump, after attending the 47th ASEAN Leaders Summit, declared Malaysia a great and very vibrant country. During Trump's visit, the newly elected Takaichi is expected to affirm plans by her predecessor to increase military spending and to make $550 billion in Trump-directed investments in the United States. Meanwhile, Tokyo residents have also shown hope for good trade relations with the United States ahead of Trump's visit. Let's listen in.
いいトレードを持ってきてくれればラッキーなんですけども、そうなるかどうかはトランプさんの中に関係してくるので想像がつかないんですよ。いきなりロシアを味方してるかと思えば急にゼレンスキーさんの友達みたいな顔をしてやるでしょ。それが予測できない。最初はうまくいくと思うんですよ。お互いに主張は激しいですから。ただこっちがコロッと変わった時に高市さんはずっと同じ形で主張していきますよね。ある意味で体系的にというか。だからそこでガチンとくるかなという感じを私も。
We're now joined by Ross Feingold. He is a political analyst and he joins us live from Taipei in Taiwan. Thank you very much for joining us, Ross. It's a pleasure as always. Ross, of course, Donald Trump departs Malaysia for Japan and meets the Emperor today. However, his most anticipated meeting in Japan will be tomorrow, where he meets the newly appointed Conservative and first female Prime Minister Takaichi, who is continuing the plans to raise defense spending. How much of that, do you think, is driven by US pressure, and how much by regional threats like China and like North Korea?
It's a combination of the two. President Trump began to put significant pressure on Japan as well as South Korea to dramatically increase their defense spending during his first term. Biden continued that, but I think obviously the difference in personalities between Biden and Trump is going to be extremely direct in making clear that his government, his administration expects Japan to significantly increase defense spending. Now, new Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai, she is committed to defense spending increases, but whether or not she'll be able to get through the Japanese parliament a level of spending that Trump wants, that remains to be seen.
Yes, and Ross, of course, this $550 billion in US-directed investments, which was promised under the Ishiba government as part of the Japanese trade deal. Is this genuine economic cooperation, or, of course, Tokyo bowing to Trump's transactional demands?
In a way, it doesn't matter. And the reason why I say that is Japan has made that commitment. Now, it was under the previous government, as you pointed out. But as of now, there's no reason to believe that the new prime minister is looking to change that deal. So the details have yet to be put into black and white, and they're still talking about that. But there's no indication that she's going to try and significantly change that deal. So I mean, from the American perspective, this is a very good deal. It brings in a lot of investment. It will create jobs and manufacturing in the United States. Japan also made a lot of changes that will facilitate the export of U.S. goods and services to Japan. And Japan got out of it that the U.S. imposed a lower tariff rate than had initially been threatened by President Trump. So I think the new government in Japan is still looking at this as a win-win. And again, there's no indications that she was trying to significantly change the terms of the deal.
Ross, stay with us. We have more diplomacy coming up from the Indo-Pacific, where Brazilian President Lula